Okay, well, Starship is flying around the world. SpaceX is playing with their latest or the last of this version of the Starship, and I guess it's going to be a little while longer before they try and land this thing. But I've been watching it on the other monitor while I was playing. So yeah, I'm a little distracted. So good evening, everybody. Luke, Kurt, Paul, Danny. Let's see who else is here. I still have the Starship pictures up on another window so I can watch it. Let's see. Mixmaster's here tonight. Thank you for coming, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and, you know, I will continue to watch in my other window and be distracted. But let's go ahead and get into the show. And because it looks like everything actually worked technically tonight, although I've been so distracted I forgot to get the lava lamp turned on, so it's just starting to get its act together. Yeah, space flight just fascinates me. I mean, it always has ever since I was a little kid, and doesn't matter who's doing it. I love to watch that stuff. So. And I didn't even realize, I wasn't paying attention, didn't realize there was going to be a launch tonight until Jeff mentioned it in the Discord. So anyway, it's flying over there. The lava lamp it's on. It just hasn't heated up yet. So it's if you look up here, you can see that it's just starting to lift up a little bit. So by the time we get going, get into the show a little bit further, it'll be blooping around in there. It's as close as you get, huh? It's not quite the same, but anyway. So let's go ahead and get into the show. We'll start with what's in the jam. We'll try and get to the schedule and get out of the way so Jeff can get on at 9:30. So anyway, let's see what's in the jam. So let's take a look real quick, and I'll switch over to the DAW, and we'll do it that way tonight. So what we're working on, let me give a little preface as to what's going on. So time is coming short. Are running short between now and the time I have to actually do some live performance. So for the next couple of shows anyway, up until the 1st of November, I'm basically going to be working with the stuff that I'll be working with for the live. And so I did finally decide what we're going to include, or what I'm going to include on this. And going to keep it real simple. It's going to be a hybrid show, and testing on the laptop is going to tell me what hardware I'm actually going to need versus what software I'll be able to run. But things we are definitely going to run in software, we will definitely be running Kontrast, and so this is the patch we kind of started on during the show before when I was doing the live. Okay, so the live will be. I am participating in a live show. It's an all-day affair, and I'm playing about a 15-20 minute set in about the middle of the show. It's called Electronica Fest. It is hosted by what came out of a company I worked for many years ago, which is really interesting to me. It's so I worked for a Computerland set of Computerland locations here in the Baltimore area. Way back, and over time they've changed their name and whatnot. They're now called System Source. But that's where it's hosted in conjunction with the National Electronics Museum, and so this Electronica Fest is an annual event. It's an all-day, like I said, an all-day thing, and Paul is involved, and although I guess he's not performing this time, he performed at the last event that we did. So anyway, I'm doing a live performance. I'm taking my show on the road, and so the things that I was originally going to try and do all hardware, and decided that I should probably stick with what I do. And my stuff is produced in a in in a hybrid situation. So I'm a mixture of computer and hardware. So I'm going to do what I do. And yeah, so you're going to throw fruit and vegetables at me, Paul. Thank you. I appreciate your support. So anyway, so I'm because I'm in crunch time and I've been kind of putting stuff off and trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing and everything. Basically, the live streams and some other stuff that I'll be doing during the next couple of weeks are basically going to be rehearsals for the show on the 1st. And then I'm going to make a whole bunch of changes here in the studio, and we'll talk about some other stuff that's coming up. So anyway, back to what's in the jam. Let's go back over to here. So this is the Keith and me contrast patch that we did last time. Let me quiet down this other thing. Hey Jeff, welcome, welcome. Watching the ship fly, man. It looks really cool. Perfect launch, man. Absolutely perfect launch. Uh-oh, I think I got a stuck note. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, watching the landing now, so I am real distracted. I don't think the NASA Spaceflight channel would appreciate it if I stuck their channel up on my stream, but oh, maybe they would. I don't know, but I'm not going to throw it up on screen. Jeff, about how much longer it is before they plop this thing down in the water? Okay. Yeah, I'm watching the camera shots from it. They're actually shots on the water now, so it's looking really cool. They probably would be fine, but that's not what my channel's about. And oh, a little crackly is not good. Okay, got to be careful with the density on this patch. So anyway, this is Kontrast. We've been working with this the last couple of weeks. It's very, very cool. Both Jeff and I have been playing with this. So what we're looking at now is an actual Starship ship launch or landing. This particular set, it's the last time they're flying this version. So they already did a soft water landing of the booster, and they did that a little while ago, and then disposed of it upon landing. This is, they haven't, I don't think they've gotten far enough with the Starship itself to do a catch yet. So they're still trying for soft water landings with Starship itself. But this one's looking better so far than most of them have them. This is pretty exciting. So anyway, yep, exactly. All right, so the re-entry of the booster or the landing of the booster is also real aggressive in this configuration. I mean, it comes down like a shot, and they brought it down. I mean, I watched the soft water landing of the booster, and man, that thing just came screaming out of the air, and then they stopped it and hovered it, and I was like, standing straight up. It's just mind blowing to me that they can do this. Without the things falling over. So anyway, next up in the jam, while we're waiting for this thing to splash down, which is real close, but while I'm waiting for that, the next thing up in the jam is, oh, I have it turned down, is Cult. It's another Dawesome synth, soft synth. And I was surprised myself. I was going through my inventory. I thought I had all of their synths, but I didn't have this one. So this is Cult is a subtractive synth. We'll go ahead and bring this up full screen, and so it's you know the oscillators are unique. And I thought I'd bought it a long time ago, so it's on sale. It was on sale, so I picked it up because you know what better things do I have to do with my money? So anyway, so this is called it's another. Most of the Dawesome stuff for me anyway works better for pads or best for pads. I know you can do leads with all of it, but for me it's just the motion and the texture in the software is just so good. And they're fantastic for evolving sounds. So anyway, that's what's coming off of Cult, and we'll be using that for the drone for the evening too. Next up in the Jam is the multi-poly. It's doing the ARPs, or some of the ARPs. And what I haven't decided yet is whether I'm going to be doing multi-poly in hardware or software for the actual performance. That's going to get figured out once I transfer everything over to the laptop and see how all of this performs on the laptop. The couple little tests that I did earlier today looked pretty good on the laptop. I was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised. Oh, what are they doing? Little bits of flame. Oh, it's coming down. It's coming down. Hang tight, guys. Oh, yeah. And it hit the water a little hot, but not too bad. We missed the blow up portion of it. Oh well. It did blow up on the water, Jeff, but everyone's happy at SpaceX control, so it looks good. Jeff, were they planning to blow Starship itself up as soon as it hit the water, like they did with the booster? Gotcha. Okay, good, perfect. Then it looks like it was a perfect flight this time. I didn't see any of the problems with the fins or anything that they've been having, so that's awesome. Looked like an actual perfect flight. Wow, very cool. If you're at all interested in the space stuff, catch NASA Space Flight or Space Flight Now. They'll have a replay of the whole thing. And I guess the SpaceX YouTube may have it as well. But anyway, that was picture perfect. All right, I can stop that stream. Boom. I say boom. There we go. Okay. So now I'm back. Okay, I'm back with you. Yeah, I was gonna say you've been testing that, or SpaceX has been testing the tile failure on purpose, which I don't think is something was ever really done with shuttle. They just kind of expected all the tiles to stay on the ship, and as we know, that didn't work out quite as hoped. So I think the idea of testing damaged shuttle or damaged tiles and purposefully leaving them off and whatnot for tests has been incredibly valuable. And looks like today's trip was absolutely perfect and exactly what was expected. So fantastic. So anyway, like I said, this is being multi-poly, and I've settled in for this part to be the recitation 4, excuse me, 4 preset or performance. So I still have to transfer that one into the hardware to have it as backup. And yeah, Paul, absolutely, carrying as little as possible is the way to go, especially since the a whole bunch of it is going to be coming off, or some of it anyway, is going to be coming off of the off the modular, off the 2600 in modules. And let me move over to the other mic and keyboard over here. So this is the patch that you're seeing here is probably pretty close to what's going to be used for the live, and it's an interesting patch. And again, I've got Luke and Joe to thank for everything down here. There's a few more things coming, but probably won't be incorporated entirely anyway before the actual show. I've got to get some stuff out of here first. But what I'm doing, I basically have 3 patches within the patch, and right now all 3 are playing. Excuse me. So let's see what's playing. This does all it's playing. Okay. So basically, this patch is built up in layers, and even with this, semi-modular, modular mono synth, I've actually been able to build 3 different patches into the one patch, and it's all controlled via the mixer. So first up, we've got just this part. And this could either be played with a sequencer or as a lead. So this makes heavy use of sequence and clock and sample and hold and all that kind of stuff. At some point, maybe I'll break down the patch in detail once it's all finished. But another thing that I'm doing, so in addition to being able to run the oscillators through the 2600 filter and mixer, I'm also using it in another complete patch down here. So these 2 oscillators 2 and 3, come down into the filter of a Behringer, which is the 110 module. So I'm just using the filter and the VCA on this because the oscillator is indeed a bit twitchy. So this has its own timbre, its own filter operation. So this comes through the VCA, which is the Behringer VCA, which is doing some kind of level modulation, and then it goes into a Doepfer low pass gate, which is actually handling the actual envelope control or being controlled by the envelope. And the envelopes for down here are all coming out of the Behringer Abacus, which is a Maths clone. So it's handling all the envelopes and LFOs for down here. And I'm doing a thing I'm using the 182 sequencer to change the slope, the attack and decay slope for the amp on the lower voice. And then the other thing that I'm doing down here, which is actually involved with what's going on up on the top, is I'm running, let's see, I've got an LFO coming out of the 2600 through an attenuverter on the Abacus and then back up into the PWM for the sawtooth output, or I'm sorry, for the pulse output of oscillator 2, which is running into the ring modulator, which is what gives me essentially my third voice, which is this sound. And this is running through the 2600s filter. So there's a lot of stuff running around in a lot of different directions. And I can also bring the sample and hold in without the filter, without it being into the filter. And so the kind of phasey, filtery, kind of sweepy kind of sound that you're hearing is actually because I'm modulating the pulse width on the square wave, which is coming into the sample and hold. So anyway, pretty cool patch, if I do say so myself. And then the whole thing is being clocked from the key steps clock output. So anyway, lots of fun to be had with this patch. All right, so let me catch up with the chat. They did Starlink releases on this flight too, Kurt. And actually it was even better. They had some little bumpiness and some glitches on that one previous one where they did the Starlink releases. It was silky smooth tonight. Like they, on the second try or whatever it was, they got all the kinks worked out of it, which was really impressive. The speed at which they do things. So, plan the deep thoughts. Yes, good. Thank you for helping me keep on track, Luke. Let me come back to me on the camera. And the first, let's close off that mic. Grab a drink real quick. I have a list of things to talk about, and to be honest, Luke, some of this was some of what I want to talk about was kind of spurred on by the podcast that you and Joe released the other day, and your follow-up, and then some other conversations that have been going on around and around and around. But I want to talk about a couple of things. The first one has nothing to do with any of that, but it is an interesting conversation, I think, anyway. As some of you may know, I'm a Rush fan, so being a Rush fan, I was excited to, but with trepidation, to find that they're going to be going out on tour, that they've got someone to sit in the seat where Neil Peart sat, and I can't remember the young lady's name, but she's a fabulous drummer, absolutely a fabulous drummer. My understanding is been going back and forth, but it's not going to be any new Rush music. It's going to be a Rush cover band, and apparently they're going to do some other covers as well from other bands' music. This all kind of started when they played in a tribute for another drummer, and they started jamming and getting together and said, hey, playing these old songs is a lot of fun, and we'd like to play these old songs again. So that's really what that got down to. So they're doing this thing, the 50-something tour, and so pre-sale tickets went on. I was told today. Turns out there was another pre-sale that I should have gotten a notification on that I didn't. that happened this past Friday. But anyway, I jumped on the pre-sale today. By the time I got through the queue, the affordable seats were gone, and the least expensive seat that I could find that would have been worth sitting in was almost $900. And that would be that was at Madison Square Garden, so I would have to get myself to New York for the show. Which isn't a big deal. It's $160 or something like that. And so I have said, you know what, I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna do the New York shows. I will hop on the open sales on Friday just to see if there's anything worthwhile, but I doubt there will be. I'm gonna wait to see now. They in the past regularly played a venue down in Northern Virginia, and so I will wait to see if they're going to play there, or maybe Philadelphia. There's another venue they play usually right around the same time they play DC. So if those are available, the seats will probably be less. The one in Northern Virginia, I can get a lawn seat, and the lawn seats there, if I get to the venue early, the lawn seats there are actually very good. I don't think Rush is going to do it in a cringy manner either. I just they have too much respect for themselves to do that. The thing with Yes is I saw some of the last of the full band Yes concerts, and the second to last one that I saw was kind of cringy. Steve Howe was did not seem to be in good health, and I was kind of worried that that would be the end for them or for him. And I went to, their next tour, and I'll tell you what, the show was fantastic. But to my mind, Yes requires at least 3 people to be the right people. You have to have John Anderson, you have to have Chris Squire, and you have to have Steve Howe. If you don't have them, you don't have Yes. It's just all there is to it. So if you don't have Squire, Anderson, and Howe, then, like I say, you don't have you don't have Yes. They've always managed to find excellent keyboard players, and I've never been worried about that. When they had Igor in the band, he was an asshole, pardon me, but and that's why he was in the band for such a short period of time. And they replaced him with I would go with that. Luke. Yeah, I can do that. But anyway, they found Tom Brislin for the U.S. portions of the next tour, and then he became pretty much the regular keyboardist for a couple of tours with them. Fantastic young guy, absolutely an amazing player, and just the nicest guy you ever want to know. He's got no ego, and he's just, he's just a nice guy. He's now with Kansas, and the last album I think it was that they released, he joined the band and wrote the album, and it is a Kansas album through and through. I mean, it's just he's got a real respect for the craft, and fabulous chops, fabulous skills. I believe that is correct, Luke. But I'm not sure how that all played out for once he passed, because Yes is still touring, although to me it's not Yes anymore. When Anderson was out, I stopped calling it Yes and started calling it Maybe. And now without Anderson and without without Chris Squire, I call it No. It's just it's not yes anymore as far as I'm concerned. And nothing against anybody who's in the band, because they're all excellent. They're all excellent performers. But to me, there was a chemistry, although sometimes it was, there was some friction, but there was a connection in that band, just like with Rush, just like with any top bands, and so anyway, enough of that. Enough of prog rock. I'm probably not going to see Rush. I'll catch, as Lucas said, I'll catch the album later if there is one, or concert videos or whatever. So anyway, let's get on to the meat of the matter. I have graphics for this. I have a slide deck. So let's see. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about something called polyphony. And I'm going to tell you what polyphony is by definition. You can read it on the screen. Any synth that can play more than one note at the same time is polyphonic. Period, end of story. And this goes way, way, way back. Now, the abilities of polyphonic synthesizers have changed over the years. But if you can play a chord, if you can get down and, hold a C, an E, and a G, and a C, and an E, and a G come out of the synthesizer, each independent notes, that's a polyphonic synthesizer, okay? And as I say, here on the slide, limitations of technical nature over given times, synthesis methodology, production costs led to various types of polyphony, okay? So, early on, and really the first of the polyphonics, well, so here's the deal. Here's the deal, Jeff. It's not an argument. There is no argument. This is a polyphonic synth. This is the definition of a polyphonic synth. So let's talk about a paraphonic synth. So we'll get to that. True polyphony is a term that is now being given to polyphonic synths with individual filters and contour shaping for each voice or each note. Okay, so that's like maybe gold standard polyphony. Okay, so and this is the architecture of synths like the original Gaia. Let's see, or the Polybrute, or the multi-poly, or any number of the new magic synths that we have. And so that's one type of the holy grail, I guess, of polyphony. But a paraphonic synth is a polyphonic synthesizer in which all the voices or notes share common sound shaping components. Okay, it's still polyphonic. It can still play an independent chord. And with the drawback to a paraphonic synth unless you resort to some neat trickery, which a lot of manufacturers do, is that you don't have cool articulation. I mean, you all know how much I love to articulate a chord, when I've got polyphonic aftertouch. I love to be able to play the filter on the middle note in a triad, and still have the other notes just kind of hanging out there, but open up that filter selectively across notes. I love full polyphony. I just get a little bent when people say that paraphonic is not. Yeah, exactly. A lot of synths that some people consider to be monophonic actually are paraphonic. I could rig that to be paraphonic. So. And Luke is going to say I'm being pedantic, and maybe I am. I don't know, but I just want to. This is a thing, yeah, I guess I don't. I'm kind of like different. The other thing to think about, a lot of people say that you have to have this for it to be polyphonic. Leave out quite a few things. Okay. I think I prefer, so full polyphony or true polyphony is, again, it's like the Grail. It's the top of the heap. But 20 years ago we couldn't do this. 30 years ago we couldn't do this. Paraphonic was as good as you could get. Now, so the other thing is, by a lot of people's definitions, there's a lot of kinds of synthesizers that don't meet the definition of polyphonic, yet they're very definitely polyphonic synths. You get a traditional FM synth like a DX7, there are no sound shaping filters in that synthesizer. At least the first version anyway. I think they added them for the FD2s, but maybe. The only filter in a DX1, a DX5, or a DX7 Mark I anyway, is an anti-aliasing filter. It's the only filter in the whole thing. It's not adjustable. Okay. Yeah, same true is true, Jeff, with the Polybrute. If I'm stacking up a big chord, the voice stealing can get interesting. Or if I've got it in kind of like the dual layer mode, that kind of thing, without going in and defining, like I can go in and I can say the bottom layer only gets 2 notes and the upper layer gets 4 notes. A lot of times I don't bother with that. I just start playing the thing. So if I've got a split going, or if I've got a layered thing going, or even in the some of the other notes, I'll run out of notes, and it does do some interesting stealing. It's not impossible to do with a full polyphonic synth or a true polyphonic synth, but it does happen. Right, and it's so Luke, your style is, you don't do big chords typically, Yep, absolutely, Jeff, absolutely. So anyway, that's my thing about Polyphony. This has been, and the trigger, I guess, the trigger was Luke and Joe's podcast the other day. It was just like, I keep hearing this, not just from you guys, but from all over, everyone's going on about, it's not polyphonic, it's paraphonic. Well, no, it's paraphonic is polyphonic, just a different flavor, and so there are other kinds of synthesis that don't use all the parts that some people say are required to be in a polyphonic synth. They just don't use those parts. You're funny, Luke. So anyway, that's really, they don't use those parts, yet they still are fully polyphonic. And, that's, so it's just, sometimes I do get bogged down in semantics about things, but I think it's important to, some of these things, it's important to keep track of where we were, where we came from, and the capabilities of things that are old that people say, or older that people say, yeah, it doesn't do this. Well, it does. So, guitar, six voice polyphonic instrument. It is. It's got 6 oscillators. But they share a common filter. It's like, and a common VCA. So it's like, or a common amp, volume control. So it's I don't know. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about that. I don't know how deep a thought that is, but it's something that has been irking me for some time. So anyway, next thing I have thoughts about, Yeah, I'll just go straight to it. I'm not going to mess around. This was kind of a follow-up. You guys didn't get into it in the podcast, but you've talked about it. Wabbit's talked about it. Noise Theorem, Tony has talked about it. Lots of people talk about this, and yet people go ahead and they buy things and then they complain when it doesn't meet their expectations or their future expectations, or they don't get the updates that they think they are due. And so, the mantra is, buy for what it is today rather than what it may be tomorrow, even if what it may be is promised. And don't get bent if the update doesn't come as quickly as you think it should. And I'm guilty of that. I see you, Paul. I will check you later. There was something I wanted to talk to you about. I can't remember. True in marriage as much as gear. Absolutely. or anything, The thing with people and relationships is they will change. People will change, sometimes in very unexpected ways. And often, or well, I won't say often, but in some cases, the change is not necessarily for the better. I'll just say it, So, but yeah, that's a good point, Luke. Heck, even dogs, they change. So get the dog for what he or she is today. Get the spouse for what they are today, or the partner for what they are today. Get your car for what it is today, not what you hope it'll be in a year. Now, I think with a lot of things in the synth world, as far as that goes, software updates, firmware updates, my level of patience, I guess, has it changes over time. When I first got the Control S, which I loved from minute one, because it did almost exactly the things that I expected it to do when it came out of the box the first time. The problem was I needed to do some things before they were ready with the next steps. A lot of people complained about it, and I, said, man, I was upset at one point because they had as much as said, Native Instruments had as much as said that the first firmware revision was ready to go. And ready to be released, and then they just sat for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I ended up needing to do something. I ended up needing to buy a second controller to use temporarily while they got their acts together. Turns out what they were doing was they were adding a couple more features, as opposed to just the little things that they said they were going to do. They had other features in the works and decided to do it all at once. What they didn't do is communicate that. And I think that's where a lot of manufacturers, not just in the synth world, but in anything, cameras, cars, spouses, whatever, when changes are coming or are not coming, more importantly, we don't necessarily get good communication. And we don't necessarily find out that, hey, it would be great if they would tell us, hey, there's a feature that we're wanting to implement, but we're having a little trouble with it. It's going to take a little longer than we initially anticipated to get this thing out. Unfortunately, what happens is they go into vacuum mode and we have no idea what's going on, so we feel like we've been abandoned. And then there's the other side of that is I look at as an example the Ableton Move. they released that thing in version 1.0, and darned if it didn't do exactly what Ableton told everybody that it was going to do. It did the things that they said that it was going to do. And people bitched that it didn't do X, it didn't do Y, it didn't do Z, it didn't do Q. Well, they only told us it was going to do A, B, and C. You know, and when people get upset about something not doing something that we were never told that it was going to do, that just as as a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine used to say on their podcast, it chaps my ass. You know, and so I've taken obviously some gloves off tonight. I'm not being my normal family friendly self. Sorry for those who might be offended. I don't mean any offense, but I'm kind of wound up today. There was some strife occurring actually really just before the rocket ship went up and while that was going on. So not here at the house itself, but some other things that I'm having to deal with. So I'm a little wound up. So let's see. Let me also, so I do want to talk about a couple things that I think should have been expected from a manufacturer. That basically they've said, nah, we never intended to do that. Yeah, we are living in interesting times, Danny. That's all there is to say about it. We are living in interesting times, and I think it's weighing heavily on all of us. And as much as I try and divorce myself from that, to especially when I'm doing music, it's right now it's not working. So anyway, jumping back to the expectations, Arturia has kind of got me a little annoyed right now. One of the things I've got the Polybrute, as you all know, and it's a fantastic synthesizer. It really is. And two of the things about it that are really cool to me are the ribbon controller and the Morphe pad. They were kind of both up there on the list of reasons that when the deal came down to buy the thing, I said, you know what, those are worthwhile to me, and the ability to morph between two patches. You know, that was big to me. And so we get into it, and I didn't even really pay much attention to it. I was having fun playing with it, you know. But it came up that the Polybrute 12, you can record MIDI data from the strip or from the Morphe, but it doesn't play back. Meaning so you can record it into Ableton or any DAW, doesn't matter what DAW. You can record that stuff into it. When you go to play back, it doesn't respond. And so people have been hammering on Arturia about this for months and months. And then we turned out, oh, guess what? It also doesn't work on the 6. So people are hammering Arturia for months and months and months and getting like zero response. Somebody finally cornered somebody from Arturia and got an answer. And they said, oh, yeah, it doesn't do that. It's working as we intended it. And I'm like, what? So you intended to be able to send this MIDI information out. You intended for us to be able to record it, but you didn't intend for us to be able to play back this frankly important performance parameter. You know, it's like, really? That's part of this thing. You know, and if I'm going to record my performance, the data from my performance, I need to be able to play that back. It's, you know, that's Hmm. And of course, they don't publish a full MIDI spec on this thing. Uh, so there were lots of people saying that they might have workarounds and you could use the software and blah blah. Well, it doesn't even work using the software. So if you've got their software loaded as a VST, you can't push that data back to it. Almost everything else you can do, but those two key functions, you can't play back what you can't MIDI control what you just played. And you may have noticed I haven't turned the Polybrute on. Had it on a stream now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. And it's like it's kind of taken the wind out of my sails for this synthesizer. And this is a fabulous synthesizer. It took the wind out of my sails. I've pulled the 12 off my wish lists, so to speak. I'm never gonna be able to afford it, but it's like it was cool to have there on my wish list. But I've pulled it off my wish list and decided, you know what? I'm going to do something else with a lot of money, or a chunk of money instead. The other, yeah. And the other thing is, we never seem to know. Apparently they've given up on the Microfreak. And because we've not had an update for that for any kind of time now. That said, what it does beautifully. I'm not too thrilled with the version 5 software or firmware for it. The version 4 was fantastic, and I would have been happy to stop right there on that. Although, as you've seen, I haven't had that. It's been sitting over there on the shelf for months and months and months. So anyway. I don't know. I don't know where to go with that, with that kind of thing. Besides, I guess buy it for what it is, but there is a certain level of expectation for what it is. It comes into play. It's like when I buy a synthesizer, I expect that the functions are going to work, and that we're not going to get an attitude when we say, "Hey, the function doesn't work." And I know that Wabbit talked about this the other day on one of his streams, and he did a stream with 3 manufacturers that he won't buy from anymore because they haven't met his expectations. And they don't respond well when pressed. And it's not like he's asking for, not like people are asking for these guys much in the way of feature updates. They're just asking for everything that comes out of it to do what it says on the tin. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to any of that is. Wow. So I'm looking at the confidence return feed on the laptop over here, and I don't know how it's many minutes behind. I just, wow. I don't know how. Obviously, we're pretty much chatting in real time. It's 20 or 30 seconds it looks like, but this stream over here on this laptop is dismal. I wonder if I'm not going to restart it. Doesn't matter. So anyway, I don't know if this has been deep thoughts or rants, but anyway, I appreciate the 4 folks who are still here hanging out. So we had 7 at one point, but anyway, let's see what's up next. Oh, I got some great news here for you next. Rants are fun. They're the same thing, okay? So I've got, I kind of sort of whiffed on announcing this last week. And kind of like popped back in at the end, closing jam, and as well people were running away. But I want to I want to make sure that I let everyone know, and I'll keep announcing this, but I do want to let everyone know that we're going to do this. So Saturday, November 8th, live at 3 p.m. And Danny's just learning the time now, but live about 3 p.m. We're going to spend a couple hours with the opsix, and we might even do dueling opsixes. Mine will be here, obviously, in the rack, and I think he's going to bring down his SE. So we'll have a pair of opsixes to play with. And I think he's also going to bring down a monopoly to play with as well. So that should be an interesting afternoon. Again, Saturday, November 8th, unless something blows up. But anyway, I'll keep reminding everybody of this as we go. I'm looking forward to that. Our last one with the Wave State was a ton of fun. We had a great time. We were on for that one went longer than I'd like to go with this, but we were on, I think, a little over 3.5 hours and just had a blast making sounds and talking about music and stuff. So anyway, again, November 8th, 3 p.m. Eastern. And I think it'll be standard time at that point. I can't keep them track. Stupid. Okay. Well, just let us know if we need to push it off. We certainly can, or maybe we can come up with another way to do it. But anyway, on the calendar now, and I'm going to set up an event for it and everything. But if we have to cancel it, we have to or postpone. We'll play that by ear. So anyway, looking forward to it one way or another. I'm hoping you're doing well enough to do it. So anyway, next up on the agenda for tonight, and actually timing is going pretty good. Y'all know I jumped into Modular. I said for however long that I wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to do it. I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but I was talking to Donna, and or maybe the week before, talking to Donna, and it got down to, a modular or a modular / patchable synth like this is something I've wanted since I was 10 years old. So almost 53 years I've wanted to do something like that. And so, we decided that you only live once. So at least you only live this, I will only live this life once. So, go ahead, do it, keep the prices as reasonable as possible, but, go ahead and make the jump. And I'll tell you what, I am so happy that I did. It's I wish that I had not put it off. I might have made some vastly different purchasing decisions. In fact, I know that I would have made some vastly different purchasing decisions. Anyway, planning for what's the future of that. I have some things on the way. As I'm fooling with this, I'm finding some things I'd like to be able to do, and I'm finding the shortcomings here and there of what's going on. So right now, I have on order, and I'll show you where the rack is kind of heading, where the Eurorack chassis is heading. Right now, I have on order. One of the shortcomings in the 2600 is in the way of utilities. There's only one mult, and the little star mult thing is fine for like control for some things, but when you want to do stuff that's volt per octave kind of stuff where you're wanting pitch, you really need something that's at least buffered and preferably precision. But so I have a buffered mult on the way. I also have and that's an after later audio malt, it'll do 1 to 3 or 2 1 to 3 malts or 1 to 6 malt. I've also got a passive malt from 2HP that does the same thing, but there's no electronics behind it. And then I've got also from After Later Audio a mixer adder coming in that will do either 3-into-1, 2 copies of, or 2 3-into-1 mixer adders, or 6-into-1, depending on what I need to do. So some more patch points, and then you can see I've got a picture of the rack, or of the rack here, and I can't put a mouse on it, but there's a couple things that I kind of identified that I've been wanting in synthesis. One is a good wave folder, and so there's a wave folder in there. The one I'm looking at is, and I didn't write it down on my list, it's the over folder 2. It can get really extreme or not. So it's really a pretty cool sounding module. And then I want a WASP filter, so I'm going to get the Doepfer. I saw a comparison of the Doepfer WASP filter to the filter in the Behringer WASP synthesizer, and the Doepfer sounds to my ears more like what I remember. So how accurate that is, I don't know, but it sounds more like what I remember from the original WASP synthesizer. So decided to go with that one. It's as opposed to the forthcoming WASP filter from Behringer, which apparently some people have and some people don't have or can't get. I'm really liking Maths, or the Abacus, which is the Behringer clone of Maths. It really is pretty cool, but I still do want to add eventually some more advanced modulation capabilities, and so there's a couple things that have floated in and out of the rack. But basically, the planning, I've got 32 spaces available for some maybe some additional voicing or additional modulation, mixing, whatnot. So that's kind of where that's going. Still trying to keep the thing at the pricing on an even keel. So far, it's not horrific. Yeah, utilities weird stuff is the fun. One of the ones, Jeff, that I'm actually looking at, there's another iteration of this, or was another iteration of this up on Modular Grid that I had, that I've got in addition to the Abacus. Well, yeah, exactly. It's like the BARP fills so many holes that you would ordinarily have to go out and buy. But one of the things that I'm looking at that Create Audio function junction. It's really a pretty flexible thing, and a shame it's so ugly, but that's the way it goes. It works well. The BARP, it's got it so much. I mean, the oscillators are great. They sound really great. Its filter, I'm using it in the 4012 mode, which is the original filter they had, the one they got sued over. I can't hear a huge difference between that and the one that ARP came up with after they got sued, which I think was the point. The envelope controls are good. The mixer's a little weird, but it's good. Some of the functions down here are really good. The noise generator's nice. The envelope follower, I haven't used it much yet. I played with it a little bit, but having an envelope follower in the box is great. I mean, the 2600, be it the BARP or the Korg, or if you can put your fingers on it without killing your wallet, an original 2600, it really does have almost everything you need to do a lot of really cool stuff. So great value. If you want to get into modular, my recommendation is buy one of these things to try out, because it's not a huge lot of money. Okay, Kurt, good to see you. Thank you. Uh, yeah, good to see you. And hopefully, I'll get you the information on the thing in November on November 1st. I'll have links to that soon. Hopefully, you can come out for that. I'd like to have you come down with me to Paul's place for some of our jams at some point. Get you into it, man. Have some fun with us. So anyway, so you know, if someone comes to me and says I want to get into modular, you know, I spent a lot of time fooling around trying to figure out what I would want to do with modular and looking at the price go through the ceiling, even with basic and relatively inexpensive stuff. You know, for under $500, that gets you going in a great direction. And you know, no, it's not Eurorack. No, it doesn't. It takes up a stupid number of spaces, but you know, I think it is sized well. Everything feels good and solid. I was a little worried about that at first, but everything feels nice and solid. You know, and I think it's a fantastic value. And no, I'm not sponsored by Behringer because they don't sponsor anybody. You know, it's like, I just think it's a great value, and so I'll give them a free commercial. So let's see: Rush, Polyphony, Expectations, opsix Stream, Eurorack plans. I think that's everything I had on the list. So unless there's something anybody else wants to talk about, let me see if make sure I didn't miss anything in chat that people brought up that I should respond to. Let's see. Paul ran away. Kurt's left or is leaving. Luke's falling over. Looks like it's going to be just me and Jeff pretty soon. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some music for a few minutes, practice my getting around the set a little bit maybe. And Danny is still here. Cool. I'll play it for a few more minutes, and then we can, anyone who's still standing can head over to, bringing out the bass. Okay, cool. So, well, we'll head over to Jeff's and hear him thump away on a bass. But I'll play for a couple of minutes, and as usual, thank you everyone for coming. Appreciate having you here and hanging out with me tonight, listening to me ramble on about stuff that I probably shouldn't ramble on about. So anyway, again, thanks. You all have a great rest of your evening. Good night, everyone. I'll chat with everyone later on. Thanks.